opportunity employer.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us as we are one day closer to Jaguar training camp. Again, next Friday, the rookies come in. 2 weeks from today, as a matter of fact, the entire team reports. And 2 weeks from tomorrow, you, the Jaguar fans, can go watch the Jacksonville Jaguars, their first practice of training camp. The Jaguars announced today 16 practice dates that the public will be able to come watch. Now you got to go through all the deal online, register, so they need a head count for who's coming. They don't want 30,000 people to show up to the Miller Electric Center, so you got to do the online registration, but it's totally free, and you can go hang out and watch the Jaguars 16 times. Which is a lot of access. I don't think a lot of NFL teams give you 16 chances, including a couple of joint practices with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on, I believe, August the 14th and August the 15th. So that'll be a lot of fun, man. I cannot wait. Hard to believe. I was thinking about this earlier. Training camp is 2 weeks away. And I know there was a ton going on this offseason with the Trevor Lawrence extension and the Joshua Hines Allen extension. We'll get to that in a moment. And the stadium deal and all the free agent moves. I mean, there was a lot going on, but we're 2 weeks away from training camp and this whole thing starting over again. That is wild stuff. We're going to talk a lot of Jaguars tonight, coming up actually in less than 15 minutes. Sam Munson, Pro Football Focus. He is one of the main guys at PFF. He is also one of the hosts of the PFF daily podcast that they put out. Sam does a terrific job covering the National Football League. He's one of my favorites with Pro Football Focus. We haven't had Sam on since last season, so I'm going to talk to him basically about the entire Jaguar offseason, moves he liked, moves he didn't like, and how the Jaguars look against the rest of the AFC South. So Sam Munson of Pro Football Focus, he comes up in less than 15 minutes. Also Phil Steele. He of the College Football Preview Magazine. It is the best preseason magazine yearly. I've gotten it, I can't remember how many years consecutively now. Phil does a great job. Phil is always kind enough to give us some time around this time of the year, and we will play you a conversation that I had with Phil Steele talking about that preseason magazine and talking Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, and more. That Phil Steele conversation comes up in about 35 minutes or so. So we are absolutely jam-packed. We are with you till 10 o'clock, and we are certainly glad you are choosing to spend time with us. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night, and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Joshua Hines Allen. Boy, that will take some getting used to. Josh Allen, formerly known as Josh Allen, now Joshua Hines Allen, legally changes his name. Announced that today. Hines Allen jerseys now, number 41 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, wanting to honor the women in his family. I didn't realize, truthfully, that Joshua, again, I need to be charged a quarter, Denmark, for every time I do it. I didn't realize Joshua Hines Allen had so many females in his family that played athletics. What, he's got a sister in the WNBA, another sister that played college basketball. His uncle played college basketball as well. A very athletic family. And Joshua Hines Allen wants to honor his family heritage, if you will, the women on the side of his family, and put his name out there. It'll be much less confusing now without the two Josh Allens to look up, one in Buffalo, one here in Jacksonville. But if you want some motivation for Joshua Hines Allen on the day that he changes his name, look no further than CBSSports.com. Now, let me go ahead and tell you something. We all make mistakes in this business. Goodness knows I have made a number of mistakes. Luckily, Denmark has the dump button in there, so usually some of my mistakes don't ever make the air, the egregious ones. But we all make mistakes in sports media. Anybody that tells you they have not made a mistake, were wrong about something, well, they're lying to you in the sports media field because they have made mistakes and they have been wrong numerous times. But sometimes you have an editor, sometimes you read over a story, and you make corrections before it gets published on a website like CBSSports.com. And my friend Cody Benjamin, and we've had Cody on many times. I think he does a good job for CBSSports.com. But truthfully, today was not his finest hour, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. He made a mistake. He came out on CBSSports.com earlier today. The headline, Top 20 Edge Rushers for 2024. Steelers' TJ Watt headlines the top 20 ranking of elite pass rushers. All right? Elite pass rushers. So let's just go down the list here in case you haven't seen this. Number 20, Leonard Floyd. 19, Alex Highsmith. All right. 18, Zadarius Smith. 17, Cam Jordan. 16, Rashawn Gary. 15, Matt Judon. 14, Kayvon Thibodeau of New York. 13, Will Anderson, good player in Houston. Number 12, Brian Burns. And number 11, Aiden Hutchinson. All right. So where's Joshua Hines Allen? Let's get into the top 10. Let's see where he is here. Number 10, Khalil Mack. Number 9, Montez Sweat. Number 8, Hassan Reddick. Number 7, Trey Hendrickson. Wait a minute. Number 6, Daniil Hunter. Wait a minute. Number 5, Max Crosby. Where is our Joshua Hines Allen in Jacksonville? Number 4, Micah Parsons. Number 3, Nick Bosa. Number 2, Myles Garrett. And number 1, TJ Watt. He forgot our guy. He literally forgot our guy. How is that possible? A guy that had 17 and a half sacks last year was second in the National Football League. And to Cody's credit, I'm going to get him on later in the week, and we're going to talk about this. He couldn't do tonight. I think I'm going to get him on Thursday because Cody's that kind of guy. He'll face the music a little bit. Again, we all have bad days. But if you release top 20 elite pass rushers in the NFL and you don't put Joshua Hines Allen, formerly known as Josh Allen, on that list, Denmark, that had to be an oversight, right? There's not a chance on planet Earth that he just didn't put him in his top 20 because he didn't feel he was in the top 20.
Yeah, you usually see that occasionally from, like, you know, the best, like, the craziest moments from, like, the endings of games. And, like, you'll occasionally, you know, somebody will miss, like, the kick six, Alabama-Auburn or something like that. Yeah, that happened here. That's just kind of a head-scratcher because usually you just look at a list of, okay, who's the sack leaders from last year, the last couple of years, and I guess he didn't do that with this one.
I guess it goes to show you, too, though, kind of where Jacksonville is in the grand scheme of things still. We thought we were out of it, and we are to an extent. But there are a lot of people that just consider Jacksonville to be an afterthought. We might as well be the Sacramento Kings. We might as well be, give me a good baseball analogy, the Detroit Tigers. Right? Good moments. Quick, give me 3 Detroit Tigers right now. Give me 3 Sacramento Kings right now.
Miguel Cabrera, Justin Verlander, and Max Scherzer.
That'd be great about a decade ago. You'd be spot on. It's unreal, man. Josh Allen is a top 5 pass rusher in this league. I mean, he had 17 and a half sacks last year. To not have him in the top 20 and to basically have forgotten about him? Yikes. Not good. And Joshua Hines Allen, that's going to be a mouthful. Joshua Hines Allen headlines a defense that underwent a lot of change here in Jacksonville. Think about all the new guys, man. Eric Armstead, Darnell Savage, Ronald Darby, Trevis Gibson, that's 4. Jarian Jones is 5. Mason Smith is 6. Jordan Jefferson, 7. Those 7 are locks to make the roster. Absolute locks. Will DeAndre Prince make it? Number 8? Probably. What about a Trey Flowers in the secondary? What about some of these undrafted rookies? At absolute minimum, you're looking at 8 new defensive players, a new defensive coordinator, and a mostly new defensive coaching staff. You know, we spent so much time on the offense last year during that collapse in December and January. The offense put 31 up on Cincinnati. Defense couldn't stop Jake Browning. The offense scored more than enough to beat Cleveland. Defense couldn't stop Joe Flacco. For as many problems as we talk about the offense having in that collapse, the defense was as big, if not a bigger problem. Remember what Derrick Henry did to this team in Week 18. Joshua Hines Allen, new name, hopefully the same production, because he is a vital part of that defense. He is Mr. Jaguar when it comes to the Jaguar defense, and he's got to be the leader of that defense that turns things around a 180 from where they were to end the 23 season. We're givers here on Hacker After Dark. That's what Denmark and I do. The hard-working men and women of Northeast Florida. You're driving home right now, or you're already home, or you're checking us out on the MyBookie digital platform, on Twitter/X, on Facebook, on YouTube. We stream there every night. We like to give back to you, 1010XL Nation. And right now, we'll take caller 4, 641-1010, 641-1010, caller 4, a pair of tickets to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp that you can use for what, Denmark? Any game moving forward, correct?
I believe so. I'm not exactly on specifics, but I think that's how it is.
Pair of tickets to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Those games are fun, man. We had 1010XL Day there not all that long ago. We had a great time. So if you want a pair of tickets, be caller 4 right now, 641-1010, and Dylan Denmark will hook you up with those tickets to go see the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Coming up, Sam Munson, Pro Football Focus. Love the guys at PFF. Let's talk Jaguars, AFC South, and more next on a Tuesday night in Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark.
It's more than running down stats and catching scores.
We have a brotherhood in here that we worked all year with that we don't want to let down.
Go inside the locker room with Jacksonville Sports Radio, 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. It's been a life changer, an absolute life changer. I told you guys this earlier in the week. When I started on February 20th, I was a size 46 waist. There will come a day when I tell you how much I weighed starting this program. That day isn't yet, but I will tell you I was a 46 waist. Now I'm a 38 waist. That's what happens when you lose 80 pounds on Awaken 180 weight loss in 4.5 months. That's what I've lost, guys. 80 pounds. If it's time for you to lose weight like it was for me, take it from somebody that has had their life changed by this program. Call 844-346-1800. 844-346-1800 or go online, awaken180weightloss.com. I owe Awaken 180 everything. You could be their next success story. Trust me, Awaken 180 weight loss.
It's time to fire up your grill, shoot off some fireworks, and launch one of the biggest sales in the history of the United States. It's our independent sale happening right now at Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet. Whether you drive a car, a truck, or an EV, everyone is welcome to celebrate our independent sale with the lowest prices, largest inventory, and the most love for our country. Come celebrate with Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. You don't want to miss this.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
This is Frank Frangie. Join Dan Hickett and me for All Things Gators, our podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with new episodes every Monday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL Florida Gators Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or TuneIn.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Prosser here. As you may or may not know by now, I did the research and decided to go with Jack's Concrete Coatings for my garage floor. OMG, as the kids would say. I can't begin to tell you how good it looks, how happy we are. We brag on it anytime someone walks in the garage. They had the job finished in one day with a lifetime warranty. That's right. As the certified Pintech dealer for North Florida, the only company offering pure polyurea, I can't wait to do my patio deck next. Call 862-2000. That's the number, 862-2000, or jacksconcretecoatings.com.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's challenger, a paint color namer from Jacksonville, Florida. Meet Irving Stapler.
Hi, Howie.
So the next round is word association. I'll say a word and you give me the first word you think of. Engagement ring.
Jeweler.
Gas station.
Fueler.
Aaron Burr.
Dueler.
Air conditioning.
Wow. Jeez. That's a toughie.
Come on, Irv. The sponsor's gonna kill me now.
Oh, Bueller.
That's right, Irv. If your AC is struggling through the summer heat, the first name you should think of for fast, friendly, 5-star service is Bueller Air and Plumbing. The name to know to make sure you are cool.
Have a beer, Irv.
Cooler.
Stay cooler with Bueller. Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hey, it's Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. If you're like me, you're getting crushed by rising costs of everything these days. I get it. It's brutal, and credit card rates are ridiculous and going higher. That's why at Loan Pronto, we launched our Express Equity Line of Credit to bring you the relief you and your family need, using your home, your most valuable asset. We've helped thousands of people like you get fast relief with cash. The average homeowner who does this gets tens of thousands in just days and is able to save $850 per month in overall expenses. I'm talking life-changing money. Your money that you have access to right now. Listen, if you're ready to get control of your finances and get off the hamster wheel, call Loan Pronto. You can get approved for Express Equity Line of Credit in just minutes, and we can get your cash in less than a week. Stop digging a deeper credit card hole today. Call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508. 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. 904-999-1508.
Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS consumeraccess.org.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Clear water.
John, I can't even mow my side yard. It's so soggy. Man, my builder sucks.
Brent, calm down. This is a common problem in neighborhoods where houses are built too close together. You need gutters and a properly installed French drain that will soak up subsurface water. We can completely dry it up.
So I can take my builder off my speed dial now, huh?
Yeah, we got you, buddy. Let that builder bitterness go.
Clearwater irrigation and drainage too.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. We are on the doorstep of training camp. Hard to believe the offseason seemingly flew on by, and that's because a lot of stuff happened here in Jacksonville, no question about it. Let's review the offseason. Let's look ahead to training camp to come with Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus. I absolutely love PFF. Sam is a gigantic part of PFF, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Sam, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Sam, we're good. Thank you for the time. And all right, look, the Jaguars were one of the most active teams this offseason. You and I haven't spoke since late last season. Before we break down the moves individually, just your thoughts from Mile High perspective on what Jacksonville did and maybe did not do during the offseason.
Yeah, definitely an interesting offseason for them. Obviously, you've got the Trevor Lawrence contract that's been done. It's the giant extension that's been handed to him. I think in sort of big picture, neutral terms, a lot of people were viewing this year as not a make or break season for Trevor Lawrence, but, a big year for him to show that he could become that elite quarterback that everybody was expecting him to be at draft time. And instead, Jacksonville kind of jumps the gun, goes out and says, he's already that guy. We have total faith in Trevor Lawrence, and we're going to give him the giant contract and get it done early. And then their offseason was about making sure they surrounded him with the weaponry to prove it. And obviously, Gabe Davis comes in as a free agent. You draft Brian Thomas Jr., and it's now an intriguing group of playmakers. It's a curious kind of approach in terms of the style of player that they brought in a landscape that's trending sort of away from explosive plays and vertical threats on the outside. Jacksonville seems to have actually leaned into it the other way and gone after a bunch of players that all skew in that direction. I mean, Gabe Davis has been that outside vertical threat for Buffalo. Brian Thomas Jr., maybe he can become a lot more than that, but he was almost exclusively that vertical threat in college. And even Christian Kirk in the slot is at his best running vertical routes inside. So it's a really kind of intriguing approach that this Jacksonville offense has taken.
Sam, it's interesting. I got a picture of training camp last year, and there's a picture of Jamal Agnew, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, and Christian Kirk. And I remember thinking at the time, wow, that's a pretty good foursome of wide receivers. This could be something for the next couple of years. And now 75% of those guys are gone. Kirk is the only holdover. You mentioned Gabe Davis. You mentioned Brian Thomas. I would almost lump Devin Duvernay in there as well. I think Baltimore might have underutilized him a little bit. I think Duvernay is going to have a role in this offense. But a lot of people panned Gabe Davis signing nationally. A lot of people had questions about Brian Thomas. Not to put words in your mouth, but you seemingly think that the Jaguars might be all right at wide receiver, correct?
A lot depends on Brian Thomas. I wasn't as high on Brian Thomas as a lot of people at draft time. I think he looked like a very one-dimensional player in college. And as I said, it's the one dimension that NFL teams have been focused on taking away for the last couple of years. But you can't deny the physical tools that he brings to the table. I mean, he is big, long, fast, explosive. And if he was used in a very one-dimensional way in college, and if he's capable of doing a lot more than that, which the Jags will almost certainly ask him to do, if he's able to do that and make that transition, then he becomes a better player in the NFL than he was in college, where he was already crazy productive. So, I think that the potential is definitely there for Brian Thomas to be a very good NFL player, but it's a very big unknown and a big projection that they're asking from him. And given the rest of that receiving core, I think they're going to be leaning on him quite heavily. So I think it's a very interesting group because there's a lot of unknowns in terms of how this group will emerge as a collective around Trevor Lawrence.
Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Sam, you lump Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne into the equation. They have talent at the skill positions. It comes down to the offensive line. And last year, the offensive line wasn't very good. And to Pro Football Focus's credit, we didn't like it at the time. You guys basically said as much going into 2023 that you weren't very happy or fond of the Jags O-line, and that came to fruition. So the Jaguars re-sign Ezra Cleveland. They bring in Mitch Morse. You lump them with Cam Robinson, Brandon Sheriff, and Anton Harrison. That is the projected starting five. What is your opinion about the Jags' front wall there as the season begins?
Yeah, it's not a great group, but I think for Jacksonville, number one, it's always skewed more towards a pass blocking unit than it has been a run blocking unit over the past few years. It's had one of the biggest splits in terms of how good a team is in either one of those areas. They've been much better from a pass blocking standpoint than they have been from a run blocking standpoint over the last couple of years. I think that will continue this year. I think Mitch Morse will be an upgrade in the middle. And, they don't need to get this to being one of the best units in the NFL. They just need it to get towards average. And if it's a reasonably good pass blocking unit and a below average run blocking unit, that should be enough for this offense to function and for Trevor Lawrence and those receivers to show that they can be the players that they're expected to be.
The interesting thing, too, not to spend a lot of time on this, Sam, but you could do a lot worse than Luke Fortner and Walker Little as offensive line 6 and 7, right? And then they got Tyler Shatley, who's played a lot of football. They draft Javon Foster in round number 4. Look, if those guys come in, that's obviously not good because injuries have accumulated. But for the first time in a while, you could probably say there's some depth on that offensive line this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think they have better depth than, a lot of teams with those guys sort of being bumped down the depth chart into backup roles. Walker Little, certainly at left tackle, I think is potentially a capable starter, let alone a backup. And Fortner, has got that playing time experience. So, yeah, I think their backup or their depth has definitely been improved by those players coming in to start and sort of improve the backup situation as well.
Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. We'll tell you all about PFF and that terrific PFF podcast that Sam's a part of coming up in just a moment. Defensively, I haven't spoken to you since Ryan Nielsen arrived. 1 year as the coordinator in Atlanta. He comes to Jacksonville to replace Mike Caldwell. Your reaction to the Ryan Nielsen hire? Everybody I've talked to, Sam, seems to really like that hire from the outside.
Yeah, I think it's a good hire. And, this Jacksonville defense is a little bit like the offense in terms of being long on potential and needing, some key players to take a significant step forward and improve their development. And obviously Trayvon Walker is the sort of poster child in that regard. He, I think, was potentially a bit better last season, but not nearly as better as the sack number would indicate. I think a lot of people just look at his sack total and say, well, he's developed as a pass rusher. Look at the sacks, and he's already a really good run defender. I don't know that either one of those things is necessarily true right now. And an addition of a guy like Eric Armstead, I think, as a free agent is actually a really interesting move for Trayvon Walker, because Armstead is another one of these guys that was, not quite the athletic freak that Trayvon Walker was coming out, but is an unusual big-bodied athlete, a sort of tweener type of player, and a guy that's been really successful in the NFL. So Armstead, in addition to the new coaching staff, might be able to help Trayvon Walker develop and make the most of his, unique physical tools that haven't quite been realized yet.
Trent Baalke, the Jaguar general manager at the end of the year, said he wanted to get bigger, stronger, faster up front. We saw them just get absolutely dominated Week 18 in that loss to Tennessee, which cost them a spot in the playoffs. And they brought in a lot of guys, Sam. You mentioned Eric Armstead. They draft Mason Smith. They draft Jordan Jefferson. Trevis Gibson is a guy that last time Bill Shuey coached him in Chicago had, I believe, 6.5 or 7 sacks. It's an under-the-radar guy, in my opinion. But every one of those guys is 275 plus with Roy Robertson Harris, Devon Hamilton, on down the line. There's no question they got bigger, but do you believe that front of the Jaguar defense is more talented than it was a year ago?
Yeah, I think it is. They've certainly added some players to it. I think Eric Armstead is definitely the biggest needle mover of the entire group. I think he's a guy that can add some legitimate production inside and play outside as well if they need him to. And as I said, sort of potentially help bring along Trayvon Walker as well. Obviously, Josh Allen, or the newly renamed Josh Hines Allen now, is the superstar up front. And he's really become, maybe not an all-pro, but simply because there's so many other all-pro caliber defensive ends at this point, like he's become a really top-tier edge rusher as that former first-round pick. And then the other thing is the linebacker group is really good. It's really good. It's athletic and it's active. So, they can do a lot of damage behind that defensive front if those defensive linemen can just hold up their end of the bargain a little bit better than last year. The makings are there for this to be a really good defensive front.
A couple of more for Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus. Sam, the secondary, that to me might be the biggest question. I mean, we know Tyson Campbell. They go out and bring in Ronald Darby. And then there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, Darnell Savage, is he going to be a safety or a nickel? Antonio Johnson, where does he fit in? Cisco's obviously back there. But when you look at the corners behind Darby and Campbell, a lot of young guys, including Jarian Jones, the third-round pick out of Florida State. Do they have enough in the secondary right now, or would you like them to go sign a veteran here in the next month or so?
I think it's a solid secondary, but it's definitely maybe an unexciting one. Ronald Darby has become a kind of rent-a-corner over the last couple of years, where he just comes in as a solid veteran presence on a relatively short-term deal and then moves on. But he's a capable starting corner. Tyson Campbell obviously showed that elite level and elite playmaking ability, and then just didn't repeat it last season. But to an extent, that's kind of the nature of the position. It's so volatile year to year, and you're so much dependent on who you're facing and opposition and those kinds of things. And then I think the safety group is talented and good as well, like a solid kind of capable group of safety. So I think it's a capable and a good group overall, but not exactly, unless Tyson Campbell bounces back to that kind of all-pro level, it's a little bit unexciting.
When they walked off the field in Nashville, Sam, on January 7th, that was a bad day for the city, the organization, the biggest late-season collapse in franchise history. I mean, going 8-3 and then missing the playoffs was awful, and they needed to get better. And my question to you is, now on the doorstep of training camp, 6+ months later, do you feel the Jaguars on paper are a better roster now than they were when the season ended?
Yeah, I think they probably are, but definitely on the offensive side, there's a lot of unknowns there. It's a lot of projection, it's a lot of theory, and we won't get to see what exactly that manifests into until we get to the season and see these guys on the field, in action. I mean, people were incredibly excited by what Calvin Ridley was going to do last season, and it didn't quite materialize once we got to the regular season. It wasn't quite as impressive as it looked in training camp and preseason. So, we just don't know what it's going to look like until we see that group out there in the course of 17 games of action. But I think it is theoretically a better group than it was when the season ended.
Sam Monson of PFF. Sam, as we make the turn for home, let's look at the division. Boy, last year when I had you on before training camp, you could argue worst division in football, certainly in the conversation. A lot changes in 12 months. I mean, from what the Texans did last year, the Titans spent $1 billion in free agency. The Colts were a fourth down drop away from winning the division last year. And then obviously us here in Jacksonville. I mean, what do you make of the transformation in the AFC South?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Houston's development last year completely transformed the division without anything else happening. I mean, they were expected to be one of the worst teams in football, and instead they were an up-and-coming playoff team that threatened to really make some noise and actually contend. And they've been making moves this offseason as if they're right there, ready to win this year, let alone the next couple of years. They're trying to win a Super Bowl now with the additions of Stephon Diggs and Janelle Hunter. So, the Texans might be one of the better teams in the NFL. The Colts, you're right, they were a fringe playoff team without their quarterback essentially last year, with Anthony Richardson going down so early and Gardner Minshew steering the ship. They should be good again this year as well. Tennessee, I think, did a good job of building around Will Levis, even if he's not the guy. They're going to give him the opportunity, the chance to succeed, whether or not he ends up grasping that is a different matter. And then Jacksonville, as we said, should be improved as well. So definitely a division, I think, on the rise, and one that shouldn't really have any bad teams in it.
Sam, final question. Biggest winner of the offseason, biggest loser of the offseason. Who, in your opinion, is considerably better? Who, in your opinion, got considerably worse?
It would be hard, I think, to look too much beyond the Chicago Bears. The job that they've done, not just with Caleb Williams at the top of the draft, but surrounding him with the talent to succeed that Justin Fields never had. I mean, all of a sudden, in the space of 2 years, Chicago might have gone from the worst supporting cast for a quarterback in the NFL to one of the best. That's a really good receiving group now, a solid offensive line, even if it's not great, and an upgrade everywhere else. So the Bears, I think, probably were the biggest winners. Dallas, maybe the biggest losers, or one of them. They don't appear to have gotten better this season. And this is an offseason when, Jerry Jones starts talking about being all in and the sort of no significant changes in terms of, fire the coach or go in a different direction. They're just rebooting. They're reloading. They're trying to do it again. And without being obviously better in any area, with a couple of significant subtractions, losses in the offseason that they're going to have to replace with young players, and almost all of their most important players not under contract long term. So it's hard to say that the Cowboys were not a significant loser this offseason, given what's happened.
Sam, I tell you this every time you come on. I love the podcast. I love the work you and your colleagues do at PFF. Tell the good folks here in Jacksonville what they can expect in the coming days and weeks leading into training camp and where they can find the podcast.
Yeah, obviously, PFF NFL podcast, wherever you get your pods. We're in off-season mode at the moment, so we're kind of going through some of the rankings that are out there, whether it's at PFF or elsewhere, and then we'll get to our training camps and ramp up for the season again.
Sam Monson of PFF. Sam, I know you're busy. Thank you for taking time out for us in Jacksonville. We'll talk soon, my friend.
Anytime. Take it easy.
There you go, Sam Monson of PFF. Always enjoy talking with him here on Hacker After Dark. As I was talking to him, I got to thinking, the Jaguars obviously missed the playoffs last year. If they're going to make the playoffs, theoretically, they're going to have to knock one of the teams out that made it a year ago. You look at the 7 teams in the AFC that made the playoffs. Baltimore was the 1 seed. I think Baltimore will be good again, but I don't think they're going to be as good again. They lost a ton in free agency. Now, I know they brought in Derrick Henry, and I get it with Lamar Jackson, but Odell Beckham Jr., Patrick Queen, Devin Duvernay, Ronald Darby, they lost a lot of guys in free agency, so we'll see about the Baltimore Ravens. Buffalo was the 2. Again, Buffalo, no Stephon Diggs, no Jordan Poyer, no Mitch Morse, no Gabe Davis. They also lost a lot. Your 3 seed was Kansas City. They're obviously great. They went on to win the Super Bowl. The 4 seed was Houston. They're going to be the favorites to win the AFC South. The 5 was Cleveland. And the Jaguars see Cleveland, the home opener in week 2. Cleveland got to the 5 in large part due to the way Joe Flacco played down the stretch. Obviously, Flacco's gone. Deshaun Watson's back. I think Cleveland will be pretty good. The 6 was Miami. They're going to score a lot. The question is, can they stop anybody? And the 7 is Pittsburgh, and that was an anomaly. Pittsburgh kind of snuck in the back door. I didn't think they were very good last year. So of the 7 AFC teams that made the playoffs last year, and we'll do this, I guess, officially the first week of week 1, I think Baltimore probably makes the playoffs. I think Buffalo probably makes the playoffs. Kansas City does. Houston and Cleveland, I'll say one of them do. One of them do not. I don't think Pittsburgh makes it again. Miami, I don't know about that either. I would say probably 4 of the 7 AFC teams last year that made the playoffs will get back in the playoffs, meaning there will be 3 spots open in my theoretical hypothesis. And that leaves the door open for Jacksonville, right? Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, potentially. The Colts. I don't think anybody, maybe the Chargers, but again, they lost so much on offense. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I think Jacksonville will be in the mix for the division and the wild card. but certainly the AFC still has a lot of very, very good teams. More NFL talk coming up actually in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll keep our NFC South preview going. We were in Atlanta last night. We will go to Charlotte and New Orleans later in the week. Tonight it's all about Tampa, the defending NFC South champion. My guy Zach Blobner, WDAE in Tampa, will join us. He's our guy when it comes to the Buccaneers. We'll talk Tampa offseason coming up in about 30 minutes or so. Coming up next into the world of college football, the preseason magazine to get is Phil Steele. Every year, it's the best one out there. It's on newsstands now. You can also get your hands on it at philsteele.com, and we will talk with Phil Steele about Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, and more. Phil Steele is next on a Tuesday night. It's Hacker After Dark.
Want more Jags? Subscribe to the 1010XL Jaguars YouTube channel. Looking for more in-depth coverage of the Gators? Subscribe to the 1010XL Gators YouTube channel. Need your FSU fix? Well, subscribe to the 1010XL Seminoles YouTube channel. Your favorite team, one specific location.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, Prime Men's Medical Center will get your sex life back in just one visit. Their painless, breakthrough medical treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Prime Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Prime Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments will restore your sex life regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. Plus, you'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients will have their testosterone checked free. Call 904-902-8222. 904-902-8222. To regain your sex life in just one visit, call now. 904-902-8222.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
I'm Jeff Middlecoff with Trustline Mortgage. My business partners, Alan Tyre, Bill Pappas, and Ken Rimley, have been helping first-time home buyers with their mortgage financing all over Florida for 34 years. First-time home buyers can get no or low down payments, anywhere from 0 to 3.5% down. As a first-time home buyer with Trustline Mortgage, you get added benefits for doing your loan with us, like lower rates on your mortgage insurance and lower closing costs. Oh, and did I forget to mention that Trustline gives first-time home buyers better mortgage interest rates? Here's the bottom line. Trustline Mortgage wants to help first-time home buyers accomplish your goal of home ownership. That's why Trustline Mortgage is offering the best first-time home buyer benefits around, period. Trustline Mortgage delivers with no and low down payments, lower closing costs, and better interest rates. Call Trustline Mortgage today at 381-LOAN. Yes, 381-LOAN to find out how we can help you buy your dream home. Or visit our website at trustlinemortgage.com. Trust your instincts and follow the line to Trustline Mortgage.
Certain restrictions apply. See office for details. Trustline is an equal housing opportunity. MLS number 331480.
Did you know a metal roof from Prime Roofing has the highest wind and impact ratings available? If you want a stronger roof, think metal. Think Prime Roofing. Learn more at primeroofingfl.com. That's primeroofingfl.com.
In sports, the grind outside the lines is what ultimately defines our success. Get the amateur's edge, powered by B3 Better, to learn the hidden path of top pros, amateurs, and coaches. Saturday mornings at 11 on 1010XL.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist is now offering ortho walk-in appointments. If you have an immediate need for orthopedic care, contact Southeast Orthopedic Specialist immediately. Avoid ERs and urgent care waiting rooms. For more information, go to se-ortho.com.
Relieve pain and get back to life.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hello
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. From GFL, Green for Life.
This is Hayes Carline here to help you break free from the chains of pest infestation. The talk of this town is Kingfish Pest Control. By now, many of your neighbors have already joined the Kingfish Revolution, leaving their homes and lawns protected and pest-free. Now it's your turn. Call Kingfish Pest Control and say goodbye to termites, ants, mosquitoes, and other annoying pests. Trust me, you'll get exceptional service and understand why your neighbors and I use Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jaguars.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Roll and Lock bed covers to Lear toppers to cam locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
New and pre-owned firearms are in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimber, Smith & Wesson, 6 Hour, Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Only at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Hope everybody had a terrific 4th of July. And I'm going to have a terrific time right now because when this man comes on my program, that means college football is right around the corner. It is the preseason magazine to get every single year. I'm talking about my buddy Phil Steele, and the 2024 Phil Steele College Football Preview is out. We will tell you how you can get your hands on that, and Phil is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Phil, how you doing?
You know, I am doing great, Ryan. How about yourself?
Phil, we are good, and I mean that, man. You are the preseason magazine to go to whenever I have you on. College football is on the doorstep, and I want to talk about Florida and Florida State, some other local schools as well. But do you even think back to when you started this magazine and to where it is now in 2024 and the journey that it's been? It's got to be quite a ride for you.
Oh, absolutely, Ryan. And, you go back to that first year. It was we only covered, I think, 88 teams. It was black and white on newsprint, not like the full color it is now. And we were just one of probably 30 magazines on the market back then. And now we are clearly the best-selling magazine. I know there's not many left, but we're still doing great sales at places like Barnes & Noble and Books A Million, the only 2 locations we're at. But I had no idea it would turn into what it has turned into 30 years after the first one.
You mentioned Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. That's the place the people here in Jacksonville, Phil, need to go to get their hands on the magazine?
Yeah, the only 2 brick-and-mortar stores that you can go to are Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. We are exclusively with them, so those would be the only 2. Or, of course, philsteele.com. You can order the magazine. And when you order the magazine on the website, we do charge you a shipping charge, but we give you the digital magazine for free. And we actually update the digital all the way through September. So we list Nate Drelling as the as the head coach for Utah State on the digital magazine.
Phil Steele here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Phil, let's dive in to some local schools. We will begin with the Florida Gators. Billy Napier coming into year 3. We know that seat's getting a little warm for him in Gainesville, and we've talked about the schedule the entire offseason. Phil, I don't know about you, but going back in my memory banks, on paper, I'm not sure if I can remember a tougher schedule for Florida football.
Yeah, toughest schedule in the country this year. It's by far. And when you look at it, I mean, the SEC schedule is brutal, and then you look at the non-SEC schedule. Taking on teams like Miami of Florida and Florida State. That's just an unbelievably tough schedule for Florida. But I'll say this. When I went over the team with Coach Napier this year, and I mentioned to him how tough the schedule was, he says, Phil, I think you'll find at the end of the year that it was a more manageable schedule than what you thought. So I think that Coach Napier is pretty confident they're going to come out of this with a solid record. And, last year I looked at the schedule, thought it was pretty tough, did not put them on my most improved team, which would have meant I thought they went from a losing record to a bowl. This year they did make my most improved list. So I do think Florida gets back to a bowl game despite the brutal schedule.
Oh, that's good news for Gator fans. Honestly, there's not a lot of expectations. And, Phil, I think this is Billy's best team coming into year 3, at least on paper. I mean, it should be coming into year 3. Yet will the results show that with the schedule that they play?
I think it will. And, going over the team, let me bring you into last year's conversation with Coach Napier. I said, hey, Coach, Graham Mertz, I'm not wild about him. Not a great why'd you bring him in here? And he said, Phil, I think you'd be surprised. He's very intelligent. He knows he grasps the offense. He's a hard worker. And what does he do? He leads the SEC in completion percentage and only tosses 3 interceptions all year. And now you add in a player like DJ Lagway behind him, who gives him that mobile threat at the QB position. I think they're loaded there. And then you look at the running back core. As long as Trayon Webb steps in and lives up to his PS number 6 billing, teaming with Montrell Johnson there. And they also, of course, add in a couple of solid true freshmen. The running back core looks good. All 8 units rank in my top units in the front of the magazine. And I actually have the Gators favored right now in 7 games. So I've got them winning 7, and if they pull an upset or 2, could be better than that.
Phil Steele here with us. You can go to philsteele.com to get your hands on the Phil Steele college football preview. It is available right now. Final thought on Florida, Phil. I mean, you've sat down with Billy Napier. You've interacted with him through the years. My point on Billy the entire offseason, I think Gator fans like him. I don't think they particularly cared for Jim McElwain, to be honest. I'm not sure how many of them cared for Mullen towards the end, but I get the vibe the Gator fans, at least most of them, like Billy. I'm not sure if that's going to matter if he goes 3-9 this year, but if he does go 6-6 or 7-5, I think the fact that he relates to Gator fans and they like what he's doing may help him a little bit save his job in 2024. What's your thought there?
Ryan, not only that, I think that is a big piece of it. I agree. I think a nice 7-6 or 7-5 season, a bowl game, maybe an even 8-9 win season would definitely endure him to Florida fans. But the other thing I like about Coach Napier is the recruiting. And all you have to do is go back and take a look at the recruiting under Mullen and the recruiting under Napier, and it's a lot different. So I like the way he recruits. I like the way he develops a roster, and he's really putting this one together. This unbelievably tough schedule, I think he comes out of this one looking good at the end of the year.
You mentioned Miami to kick off the year for the Gators. Let's go to the Hurricanes next. Mario Cristobal entering year 3 as well, Phil. He's not under the same hot seat pressure that Billy Napier is, but knowing some Miami fans, let me tell you, if Miami loses to Florida on August 31st, Hurricane fans are not going to be happy. That's a big one for Miami as well to kick off the year.
It is out of the box, but it's not a deal breaker for Miami. When you look at the rest of the schedule they have this year, unlike Florida, they play my number 43 rated schedule. And after that, they play Florida A&M, Ball State, at USF, Virginia Tech at home, at Cal, at Louisville. A lot of winnable games. I think he could survive the Florida loss, especially if they beat Florida State at home, where I've got them a slight favorite this year. In fact, the only two games I have rated as a toss-up all year are at Florida and at Louisville. Every other game I've got them favored. So I'm very bullish on Miami. I think Cristobal, when you look at the job he did at Oregon, building that team up from where they were to where they got to be when he left to what he's doing here, I think this is by far his best team. You look at the offensive line, defensive line, he's built those things up. He's got my number 7 rated offensive line, number 12 rated defensive line. They got my the quarterback they bring in, and Cam Ward is a big-time addition there. And then the running backs. You had a little question about the running backs coming out of spring. He goes out and brings in Damian Martinez from Oregon State, one of the best running backs in the country. Loaded receiving core, loaded defense. All 8 units rank in my top units in the front of the magazine, and the majority of them rank there in the top 17. Only one outside of that, and that's defensive backs, which is number 37. So talent and schedule is there. I'm looking for double-digit wins this year for Miami, and that's why I got them ranked number 10 in the country coming in.
Couple more for Phil Steele. You can check out the Phil Steele College Football Preview at Barnes & Noble. Books a Million. You can also check it out on Phil's website, philsteele.com. To Tallahassee we go, Phil. 13-0 was absolutely incredible for Florida State. They got jobbed out of the playoff, in my opinion. We've talked about that ad nauseum. Now coming into 2024, Mike Norvell, a brand new contract, but a lot of talent left. A lot of talent's going to be playing in the NFL that was playing for Florida State last year. Do you think Norvell has replenished that talent, and could they make a run at another ACC championship?
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Ryan. Prior to talking to Coach Norvell, I had big-time question marks on Florida State. Remember last year they were number 2 on my experience chart. And next week on philsteele.com, I'll start out the week. I'm going to do daily blogs. The first 2 will be about the experience chart and how teams that rate at the top do well. And look at that, number 2 on the experience chart, 13-0. This year they're number 73 on the experience chart, and they lose an amazing 10 NFL draft picks. So I had huge questions about Florida State. How do they replace them? But after going over the squad with Coach Norvell, he feels this may be his best team that he's had. And I think a lot of it goes down to quarterback play. Will DJ Uiagalelei come out close to what they had with Jordan Travis last year? If he does, you look at the rest of the talent at running back, Roydell Williams, Toafili, and Lucas at running back. The receiving core was replenished, adding a guy like Malik Benson coming in from Alabama, Jalen Brown from LSU. The offensive line has a good talent returning. In fact, I rate their offensive line number 5 in the country. I rate their defensive line number 15. The secondary looks solid. So he's done a good job not only recruiting, but using the transfer portal. And this could be a surprising Florida State team. Now, I do have an underdog when they play at Miami of Florida and at Notre Dame this year. And I've got a toss-up game when they play SMU. I don't think they're going to recapture 13-0, but I do think that this Florida State is a legitimate contender in the ACC.
When it comes to the ACC, Phil, is it as simple as Florida State, Clemson, or Miami? Are those the 3 teams you're looking at to win the conference?
Yeah, in my mind, those 3 are clearly the best 3 teams. If you're going to go a little bit deeper than that, I can make a case for SMU, which is making the step up from the American Conference to the ACC. Perhaps even a Virginia Tech, which is number 2 on my experience chart this year, and was playing much better with Kyron Drones. But I think the 3 most talented teams are Clemson, Florida State, Miami.
Final moments with Phil Steele. All right, Phil, Las Vegas loves the Georgia Bulldogs coming into the year. My question to you, does Phil Steele love the Georgia Bulldogs coming into the year?
Yeah, I think they're the most talented team in the country, Ryan. Now, will they run the table like they did last year, going 12-0 during the regular season? I think it's going to be tough. They have to play Alabama on the road, Texas on the road, and Ole Miss on the road. You're talking about 3 top 10 teams all on the road, all in tough situations. But when I look at Georgia, talent-wise, top to bottom, all on the deep at basically every position. They have players on the 3rd team that would start for a lot of other schools. in the country this year. They've got the veteran quarterback and Carson Beck. They got my number 1 rated offensive line. You know the defense is going to be outstanding under Glenn Schumann as the defensive coordinator, and all 3 units rank in my top 7. And the special teams is solid. So even if they drop a game during the regular season, I see them winning the SEC. And once they get to the playoff, I do think they're the most talented and deepest team. And I think depth is a big factor this year when it comes to the national champ, because when you play in so many games, 14, 15, 16 games, you need to have that kind of depth to sustain injuries.
Phil, when it comes to the tier system in the SEC, Georgia, maybe Texas tier 1, is everybody else beneath them? Would Alabama and Ole Miss fall into, say, tier 2? What's your thought there?
I would put Alabama and Ole Miss very close. And with Alabama, Kalen DeBoer was in the national title game last year, and I think he's got a better roster this year with Alabama than he had last year with Washington. So look out for Bama. They could surprise a lot of folks. And Ole Miss, this is clearly Lane Kiffin's best team, but I do think Texas and Georgia are the top 2 teams.
We're going to tell you how to get your hands on Phil Steele's magazine in one moment. Phil, final question. We know Texas coming into the SEC, a lot of expectations on them. Take them aside. Oklahoma, Oregon, any of the new Big 12 teams, what team moving into a conference outside of Texas, Phil, do you think will make the biggest impact this year?
From the Big Ten, I would go with Oregon. I really like what Dan Lanning's doing there. They get Ohio State at home. Could very well win the Big 10, but I did pick Ohio State to win the Big Ten this year. So the team I'm going to choose there, Ryan, is Utah. And when I look at Utah, I think they're stepping into a really good situation. Yes, they lost 5 games last year, but they played the majority of their tough games on the road. They are almost unbeatable in Rice-Eccles Stadium. They've only lost 2 games there the last 5 years, and they get most of their tough opponents at home this year. The biggest change is going to be the quarterback position. Now, last year in August, very underrated, they lost their backup quarterback, Brandon Rose. Then Cam Rising didn't play all year, and they went with quarterbacks that really struggled just to throw the football. Now Rising's back, Rose is back. They also had in Sam Word. They're going to have the pass attack. They've got top-notch offensive line and defensive line, and I think the Pac-12 last year was really one of the top conferences in college football. They're taking a step down to the Big 12, especially without Texas and Oklahoma there. So a better schedule, better health at quarterback, toughest teams at home. I give Utah a shot at even running the table this year. So keep an eye on the Utes. They're my number 1 surprise team in the country, and I think they win the Big 12.
It is an absolute tradition in my house to get the Phil Steele College Football Preseason Magazine. All right, Phil, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the website, about the stores. How can they get the book?
I appreciate that, as always, Ryan. And, the brick-and-mortar stores you can go to there in Jacksonville, you can head out to a Barnes & Noble or a Books A Million. Those are the only 2 locations. So save your gas money. Don't go to Walmart, grocery stores, places like that. Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, the only 2 locations. You can go out and buy one today. Or you can order it at philsteele.com. When you order it at philsteele.com, I'm going to charge you a shipping charge. It costs to mail things. However, I give you the digital magazine absolutely free. And we update the digital magazine all the way through September. We circle the players that are out for the year. We update the write-ups. We'll make like Utah State lost Coach Blake Anderson. They bring in Nate Drelling. We've got that already updated on the digital magazine. So check it out at Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or philsteele.com.
It's the best college football preview magazine there is. My buddy Phil Steele. Phil, I know you're busy. Thank you for spending time with us here in Jacksonville. We always appreciate it, my friend.
Ryan, I always look forward to our conversations, my friend. I appreciate you having me on today.
And again, thank you to Phil Steele of the preseason college football preview. Always love talking college ball with Phil. It's his time of year. The magazine is on newsstands at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. And again, you can head to philsteele.com to get your copy. I've gotten it for, I can't even remember how many years consecutively now. It is fantastic. All kinds of information. And we always enjoy talking Florida, Florida State, Georgia, and Miami with my man Phil Steele. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, we're absolutely loaded. Our NFC South preview will continue. Now, we made a stop in Atlanta last night. We will go to New Orleans and to Charlotte later in the week. Tonight, it's all about the defending NFC South champion, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Zach Blobner, WDAE Radio in Tampa, is our guy when it comes to the Buccaneers. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield. Let's talk about Mike Evans, both guys with contract extensions, mind you. And let's talk about the Bucs. Can they defend that NFC South crown? And if you'll remember, they won a playoff game, right, against Philadelphia, and they gave the Lions all they wanted in the divisional round. So Tampa was an eyelash away from really making some noise and getting to the NFC title game. So a lot of expectations in Tampa this year. Can they live up to it? Zach Blobner, WDAE Radio, and our NFC South preview continues with the Buccaneers. That comes up in the 9 o'clock hour. Also, Andrew Gibson, the host of River City Hardball, as can you believe we're already past the halfway point, and the All-Star game is next week in Major League Baseball. The season is crazy. Most teams are approaching the 90-game mark already. So we'll take a look at the Atlanta Braves, the Tampa Bay Rays, biggest surprises, biggest disappointments, everything that has transpired through the first half of the Major League Baseball season. My buddy Andrew Gibson, the host of River City Hardball, joins us towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. It is a Tuesday evening here in Jacksonville, Florida. And you got it on Hacker After Dark. We're glad you're with us right here. It's 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL.
We move forward starting right now. We start becoming a team right now.
Jacksonville Sports Radio. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Hun, the drain really smells.
Yeah, wow, it does.
I think it's getting backed up. What should we do? Did you just quack like a duck?
Yes, I did. Duck Rooter, your plumbing pros in Northeast Florida. Need help with a plumbing issue at your home or business? Just call the Duck.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hey, Matt Hayes here with Mike Dempsey, both continuing to reap the benefits of losing weight with Awaken 180. For me, it starts with sleep. That's right, a full night's sleep every night. Another thing, I haven't been sick in months. No colds, no sinus infections. Mike?
Same thing here. My added bonus is I've lost a few more pounds in free maintenance. Crazy to think the weight not only stayed off since last September, but I don't even think about it anymore. With Awaken 180, keeping it off becomes second nature. I've had my cheat days, I have my cheat meals, but it's not really cheating when the results stay the same.
Awaken 180 isn't just about losing weight. It's about enhancing your life, better sleep, better health, and for me, enjoying golf and swimming without joint pain.
When you're not carrying around 40 extra pounds, your joints surely thank you. Have your joints, your heart, and your scale thanking you too, and do what we did online at awaken180weightloss.com.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Let's go! Help cheer your Sharks on to victory as they battle the Green Bay Blizzards in exciting IFL football action this Saturday, July 13th, 7 o'clock in the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Now, check out our new family pack. You get 4 tickets, 4 vouchers, and a $25 Al's Pizza gift card. It's a great deal. To purchase yours or to get more information, call 904-621-0700. And ho, ho, ho! Who's ready for Christmas in July?
A little Christmas music, maestro?
Whether you're on the naughty or nice list, come out and support your Sharks. You never know, you might get a chance to say hi to Santa.
It's almost Christmas.
All we want for Christmas is a Sharks win. Check out our post-game autograph session and see if the players and dancers are asking for the same present as you.
Let's go!
Don't miss the fun and excitement of Sharks football this Saturday, July 13th. For tickets, go to jacksharks.com or call 621-0700. That's 904-621-0700. Let's go!
Let's go! 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Work it, make it, do it. Makes us all better, faster, stronger.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us as our NFC South preview continues. We will make stops in Atlanta, in Carolina, and in New Orleans. But tonight, it's all about the defending NFC South champion, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, a brand new contract this offseason. Mike Evans as well. Can the Bucs repeat as division champions? For that, our guy in Tampa is Zach Blobner, WDAE Radio in Tampa. And Zach's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Zach, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Enjoying the summertime for sure, even with the heat.
Yeah, it's hot up here. I imagine it's maybe even hotter down there. Training camp only a couple of weeks away. Zach, when you think back on last season, maybe the Bucs didn't have a lot of expectations coming in, but a division championship, a resurgence of Baker Mayfield's career. What are your thoughts on last season as we entered the offseason?
Yeah, certainly. I think there was a lot more chatter about how close they were to the bottom of the 32 teams as opposed to the top. But, you know, I think even whether it was last season or this season or who knows how long moving into the future, the fact that they do play in the NFC South always provides somewhat glimmer of hope, even if you don't have the highest, odds in Vegas to win the NFC South. And last year, you know, we thought there was a shot for the Bucs. We liked, obviously, the Saints because Derek Carr was on board. And typically, if you think everybody's close to the same level, you go with the team that has the best quarterback. And again, last year, at least heading into the year, we thought, hey, that's Carr in New Orleans. It didn't work out that way. It ended up being Baker by a long shot in Tampa Bay. And I think heading into this year, using last season as a measuring stick, it's like fool me once, shame on me. And we're just skipping straight to we're not going to be fooled again. We're going to give Baker and the Bucs the benefit of the doubt this year.
You know, I remember you and I did this 12 months ago, and at the time, coming into the 23 season, there was legitimate conversation. Will it be Baker Mayfield? Will it be Kyle Trask? We thought there was going to be a quarterback competition there that really never materialized, at least in a big way. Baker was pretty much the guy from the get-go. But the resurgence he had down there, Zach, I mean, why did it work so well with Baker in Tampa?
Well, I mean, I think he's a Florida man in every sense of the word. I mean, this guy just came in with a swagger and charisma that I think we were all aware of, but it's matured, right? It's like a fine wine that, you know, maybe is okay, but you let it age a little bit and it's a hell of a lot better. And that's kind of how we look at not just Baker Mayfield specifically, but the way that he goes about his business. He hasn't lost the juice that he came into the league with. He's just found a way to harness it and use it for good, not evil. You know, he's not coming to camp saying, I woke up feeling dangerous today, but he's still lighthearted. He's still having fun. And one thing that's always been true about him, at least from what I can tell, is he's very endearing to his teammates. You know, he took the offensive line to the Bahamas pretty early on. He does dinners and stuff with the receiver group. He's always, you know, mentioning these guys when he can and bringing them up and very team oriented. So he just went about his business the right way. And look, I credit a lot of his resurgence just on a personal level, even if not the X's and O's level, to a guy like Dave Canales, who's no longer in town. He's in Carolina now as the head man with the Panthers. But Dave's energy and Baker's energy just meshed in a way where both of them were able to be their best. Just, again, as a person, even as a player and a coordinator, they still had some room to grow and to actually clean up some of the warts on both of their game, both as a play caller and quarterback. So although it wasn't always pretty, I just think that they meshed together in a way personality-wise that allowed Baker to be his best self.
Zach Blobner, WDAE Radio in Tampa, as our NFC South preview continues tonight, focusing on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, replacing Tom Brady is no easy task, even at the point of Brady's career when he was in Tampa. And for Baker to come in and thrive like that, I mean, I would imagine from the head coach and Todd Bowles to the management, they had to be absolutely ecstatic at what they got out of him.
No doubt. And if we're being fully honest about it, Baker was better last year than Brady was in his last season with the Bucs, the year prior, the end of the era of Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. I mean, he looked like a shell of himself. We know there's a lot going on, but Baker comes in, and I mentioned that swagger that he walks with. Like, that just sparked the whole team to operate in the same manner. And, you know, it's obviously easy to say, like, oh, things went great as they win the South. They win a playoff game. But there was a stretch there where I think they lost like 5 out of 6. Middle of the season, and it was just ugly. And we're talking about when's Kyle Trask going to be in, where are they going to pick in the draft, what's the future. And every week, Baker still went out there, started, injured or whatever else, and still was on the field. And after every game, and especially the losses, he talked about how he was going to pull this team together. He was going to get it figured out, even if he had to do it with his own bare hands. And that happened. And that was something that, in terms of his approach, I think he did better with last season again than Brady did in his final year. Baker didn't try to be Brady. He just was himself, and it happened to click. It happened to work. The front office obviously brought him back because they were so happy about it, and Todd Bowles loves the guy.
I mentioned Todd Bowles. You did there as well. Like we said 12 months ago, the conversation about Todd Bowles was a hot seat, right? I imagine after a division championship and a playoff win, that is now no longer the case.
Not this season, at least. Look, he proved, I think, a lot of people wrong, myself included, that we're hesitant to, be on board with him as the head coach. When you do win the division, you do win a playoff game, I think we should give the guy a little credit. Maybe he's not going to get a lifetime contract in Tampa Bay, but he certainly learned some things. And I talked about Baker growing as a quarterback. I think Todd's grown a lot as a head coach. Even last season, from the beginning to the end, there were moments where throughout the first, 12 weeks, it felt like he was being too loyal to certain players, to veterans, to guys he brought in, and not allowing some of these younger guys or better players to get in there, like KJ Britt over Devin White. In the safety position, there were some youngsters, too, that were chomping at the bit to get in. And although we all were watching and thinking, why are you not playing these other guys? Todd was a little stubborn about it. He eventually, though, flipped the page and got those guys in there. And I think that had a lot to do with how they ended the season and got into the playoffs and had some success as well. So it seems like Todd Bowles is kind of still growing and learning. And again, there was success last season. I think we have to give him credit for both of those things. What he did accomplish and the steps he took forward, he can, in that same ilk, take some more steps forward this year potentially as a head coach.
One day Mike Evans is going to be in Canton, Ohio in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he was a free agent coming into this offseason. The Buccaneers got that contract done before he hit free agency. How important was that to both Mike Evans and the organization to work that out?
It was gigantic. Just on the X's and O's side, there's not a better weapon for Baker. Him and Mike had great chemistry. Mike has never not had a 1,000-yard receiving season. He also was tied for the most touchdown catches with receivers. I think CeeDee Lamb was the other guy last year. So without Mike Evans, not only did they not win the division last year, they're probably picking in the top 5 of the draft, just to be honest about it. So to bring him back, you give Baker the ultimate weapon and safety blanket. And that's, again, on the X's and O's side. On the community side, the personal side, this is one of the top 5-6 players in Buccaneer history. He's a pillar of the community. Does a lot of great charity work, both here and in Galveston, Texas, where he's from. We all love Mike in Tampa Bay. Mike loves Tampa Bay. He didn't want to per se go anywhere. And I think just all around, these are the types of things you hope for in sports. It doesn't always come to fruition in that way, as we're seeing on the hockey side in Tampa Bay the last couple of days. But to be able to bring Mike back and essentially make him a Buccaneer for life, it's the type of thing you see movies made about. And it's just awesome that it's happening here locally.
Couple of more for Zach Blobner, WDAE Radio in Tampa, as our NFC South preview continues tonight, focusing on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Zach, aside from Mike Evans, what do the skill position players look like coming into the year?
Yeah, so behind him, I like the receiving group. I think Chris Godwin's going to get a lot more work. Obviously, you got Trey Palmer heading into year 2 after a strong rookie season. And they brought in a kid in Jalen McMillan from the draft from Washington, who they all have high hopes for around the Bucs training facility. We already heard it during OTAs and minicamp. We'll see what kind of impact he can make. On the running back side of things, Rachaad White will be RB1 again. Awesome last year as an all-around back, but a lot of room to grow as a pure rusher still. I think he's going to look better, hopefully, this season in that regard, especially with the offensive line essentially being in a better spot week 1 in 2024 than they were a season ago. Behind him, they drafted another rookie in Bucky Irving out of Oregon, who they like a lot. Very similar to Rachaad, not to be like a 1-2 punch, but really so that there's no drop off if Rachaad needs, a series off or is hurt for whatever reason, so that there's a lot of continuity in that spot. The tight end room, I'm a little bit more confused on. Like, they have a lot of guys, a lot of youngsters. Cade Otton leads the group. I don't know if any of them are going to be fantasy football worthy. they have trouble overall blocking, but they're great pass catchers. So you tell me how that works out in the equation. It'll be good for Baker when he's throwing, but if he needs one of those guys to protect him a little bit, I'm a bit concerned.
Of course, the Jaguars will see Tampa Bay up here in the preseason. In fact, the Bucs are going to come up, and there's going to be that inter-squad scrimmage for a couple of days here at the Miller Electric Center in a little over a month's time. Zach, defensively, you mentioned KJ Britt. Boy, he was fantastic last year. Levante David back in the fold. Antoine Winfield got a massive payday this offseason. How are the Bucs looking on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I think they're really strong in certain areas, and then I think they're really gambling in others. Specifically, a guy like Antoine Winfield, obviously an all-pro. He's going to roam the field. He's going to be an impact player. Love Levante giving this team another season. Hopefully he continues to chase off retirement and do so. And KJ Britt was an upgrade over Devin White. So him, and then last year's rookie Servassier Dennis in the mix. I like the linebacking room, I think, more than most here in Tampa Bay. Outside of that, you get closer to the line, and I like up the middle with Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey. They might be as good of a 1-2 punch up the gut that any team has defensively. The problem is the edge rushers aren't exactly a ton to be excited about. Yaya Diaby last year as a rookie was their leading sack guy, and I think he's going to continue to evolve, but he's the only one I feel great about. You have a rookie in Chris Braswell out of Alabama who they're expecting, or hopeful, I guess I should say, to take the same jump that Diaby did last year in his rookie season this year. That's a tough gamble. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, a former first overall pick, kind of tough to bank on him being anything above average. We've already seen years of what he can do. Randy Gregory, we don't even know if he's going to be on the team, right? A free agent addition. So I'm really worried about the edges, but I think overall they're going to be a good unit up front. And then in the secondary, I mentioned Winfield Jr. He gets his safety mate back in Jordan Whitehead from the Jets. He spent a lot of time here on the front end of his career at Tampa Bay. But on the outsides, you see Carlton Davis go to Detroit, who was a starting cornerback. Jamel Dean is still here, but both of those guys had tons of injury issues. So you're now hopeful that Jamel Dean can stay healthy. And if he can't, you got a guy in Zion McCollum who we like, but hasn't had a ton of reps at that area as a starter, at least, even though he played all the games last year. You're relying on him and health and a bunch of these free agents like Breece Hall, from the Jets as well that came in. That's another area. So the edge pass rush and the cornerback position I'm a little concerned about.
Zach, I was down there in April. We went to the Kenny Chesney show there at Raymond James Stadium, and I sensed a lot of excitement from the fan base about the team, about what was going on. And that brings me to the division. We've been all over the division this week. The vibe I get is that Tampa Bay is probably the favorites going in. Atlanta thinks they're going to be good with Kirk Cousins. Carolina probably in a rebuild, and who really knows about New Orleans? What's your sense on the division as a whole?
Yeah, it's a three-team conversation. We don't even bring up Carolina unless we have to because we're talking about Dave Canales, to be blunt with you. When it comes to New Orleans, look, I don't think they're just going to fall off a cliff. They actually were the same win-loss record last year. They were right there around where the Bucs were, just didn't have any of the tiebreakers, and it came down to the wire. You should expect Derek Carr to be more comfortable in year two, right? Don't think they're going to win the division, but I don't want to necessarily count them out either. I put them as the 3 slot in the division heading into the year. I'm not going to buy the Kirk Cousins hype in Atlanta's offense working out in year one of a new regime when we tried to do that again last year with Carr kind of in New Orleans, and it didn't go that way. So I give Baker and the Bucs with continuity the benefit of the doubt there across the board. But I think Atlanta is a close second for sure. And honestly, I hate going back to the draft. If they take a premier, edge rusher or defensive player or even another weapon for Kirk over Michael Penix Jr., I might feel a different way. But they took a backup quarterback and they can only play one at a time. So with that in mind and all the other things, I still give the Bucs the slight edge. Atlanta right there. New Orleans, a little bit of gap to the 3rd slot. And then, again, Carolina's so far off the path, we don't even talk about them.
Zach Blobner, WDAE Radio in Tampa. Zach, final question. You alluded to it earlier. It's been an interesting couple of days in Tampa on the sports scene. Steven Stamkos, and you don't even really have to be a big hockey fan to know the name Steven Stamkos and what he meant to that organization, to that city, is gone. He's now a Nashville Predator. That's going to look unbelievably odd to me, and I haven't lived in Tampa for the last, 15 or so years. What has been the reaction? Because talking to my family members down there, they are not happy about him leaving.
Yeah, I think collectively, the majority of folks are pretty angry. They're pretty upset. I mean, there was an opportunity to bring Stamkos back, and the Lightning and specifically their GM Julien Brisebois decided to stick to their system of how they handle older players and not really make any exceptions for the fact that it's the best player in franchise history. So there's a lot of shock. I think from a business standpoint and an X's and O standpoint, you can kind of make sense of it with Jake Gensel coming aboard, the hottest free agent in hockey this summer by a lot of people's metrics. But that being said, like, there's really no argument against letting the face of not only the last era, but your entire franchise ever. Like, he's the best. He is Mr. Tampa Bay Lightning. You let him walk away, and he was willing to take less and make concessions to stay in town. He wanted to be in Tampa Bay. You can tell how heartbroken it is that he had to go elsewhere. So there's a lot of confusion. And look, there's always pressure on front offices and teams to perform. I think that they just amped it up a ton, though, here in Tampa Bay by letting that guy go to Nashville. It sucks, man. It's a tough week for Lightning fans for sure here in Tampa Bay.
You know, and you piqued my interest. You think about all-time sports figures in Tampa. I mean, where is Stamkos on that list?
Definitely on the Mount Rushmore, right? We love the Mount Rushmore conversations. I think you can make a really strong argument that he is the best player in Tampa Bay sports history. And I know there's some other great names you can throw in there for the Rays specifically, and a guy like Evan Longoria, who also was sent packing, something we're still upset about on the baseball side. And then football, whether it's Mike Evans or go back further to Leroy Selman, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, like all those guys have arguments. But I think when you look at Stamkos, who brought 2 championships to down, who was in 4 cup finals, who has won all these awards, who has all these franchise records, who is going to have a statue in front of Amalie Arena where the Lightning play someday sooner rather than later. We'll have his number retired. Like, I think Stamkos eclipses all those guys. So I'll put him on the Mount Rushmore safely, but I think if you're really ranking it all, I put him at the top of the mountain.
Zach Blobner, WDAE Radio in Tampa. He's our guy when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Zach, appreciate it, man. Know you're busy. We'll talk a little over a month from now when the Bucs come up here to scrimmage against the Jaguars. Thank you, my friend.
Can't wait for football to be back. See you then.
Where beating and banging is no harm, no foul.
Beats and bangs his way to turn 20.
This Sunday at Pocono Raceway. Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234. From Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Expert Automotive is ready to keep you cool this summer. Right now, get an AC inspection or a system cooling checkup. Your choice for only $19.99. Their gift to you this summer is $50 off any service and a free tire rotation with any service. Their ASE certified technicians can keep your car cool without breaking the bank this summer. Call them at 374-3373 to get an appointment today. Expert Automotive. They never sell greed, only what you need.
Hey folks, it's Mike Dempsey for Pella Windows and Doors. Now you probably heard me mention that errant golf ball that led us to replace our windows. And obviously, if I'm investing in my home's appearance and comfort, I want the best. Well, now my new Pella windows are installed and they look fantastic. And we've already noticed the difference in outside noise reduction and energy savings. So if you need to replace your windows or doors, visit my friends at the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway or check them out online at PellaJacks.com. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
If you're a veteran, listen up. Did you know that you can access up to 100% of your home's equity right now? Hey, Prosser here. You can do it with Loan Pronto's VA Equity Advantage Program. You can get 30, 50, 100 grand or more and use that money to pay off all those credit cards, personal loans, car loans, or maybe use the cash to do that home improvement project. Veterans love working with Loan Pronto because they make it easy. No junk fees, no hassle. They can unlock that cash in your home's equity in a matter of weeks. Don't keep paying insane rates on credit cards. There's a smarter alternative with Loan Pronto. Get more info and start the process now at loanpronto.com. Or if your current VA loan rate is over 6.5%, Loan Pronto can get you in a streamlined refinance with a lower rate right now with no income verification and no appraisal. Lower your monthly payment big time. Loan Pronto makes it so easy for veterans. So call now, 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1666781, subject to lender approval.
How nice would it be not to worry about your AC unit for 10 years? What? Bonds Heating and Air, standing by their units for 10 years. Imagine not having to think about your AC unit for a decade. Bonds 10-year warranty covers the parts, labor, and refrigerant. Basically everything. No fictional problems that will cost thousands. This is legit. An AC unit with no repair costs. Wouldn't that be nice? So remember, if your AC unit won't turn on, just call Bonds. That's Bonds Heating and Air.
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us as you look on that sports calendar, and it's hard to believe we have basically reached the All-Star break in Major League Baseball. The All-Star game comes up next week. Half of the season down, half of the season still to go. Let's talk surprises, let's talk disappointments, and everything in between with my buddy Andrew Gibson. He is the host of River City Hardball. Of course, you hear Gibby all over the 1010XL airwaves, and he's always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. Gibby, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's an awesome time of year. Baseball's going. We got All-Star break coming up. The Braves have scuffled a little bit, but now they've won 3 in a row. So I'm excited, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we always appreciate it. Let's start with the teams closest to us, and then we'll branch out a little bit. You mentioned your Atlanta Braves. Obviously, I guess the big story of the first half of the year has been injuries, with injuries to arguably their 2 best players. They're one of their best pitchers and maybe their best everyday player. But having said that, they're surviving, right, to this point. I mean, how would you assess the first part of their year?
Yeah, it's been a series of attrition for the Braves, losing Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. At the beginning of the year. At the outset is a tough pill to swallow for anybody to lose arguably your 2 best players, as you mentioned, Hack, and then have on top of that pretty much the entire rest of the season to go, half of the season for sure with what the Braves have left. But, look, it's been a tough go for the Braves, but they've won 3 games in a row now. And, the averages have not been great offensively. Offensively has been a struggle this year, which is pretty crazy to think about. You remember the numbers the Braves put up last year were just astronomical. And now this year they've kind of cratered. They've fallen right back to earth and even deeper. But you know what? I've been impressed with how they've handled it. The Braves right now, as we sit today, are on pace for 100 wins. And if you told me you're going to lose Ronald Acuna and Spencer Strider at the beginning of the year and still be on pace for 100 wins, that's pretty good. And I think the Braves will be buyers of certainly at the trade deadline coming up. They've got to address some outfield because you lose Acuna, you're going to have somebody else to help out there. Adam Duvall is not the answer. He's not performed very well. They did pick up Eddie Rosario, somebody they had in their World Series run a couple of years ago. But Eddie's kind of a stopgap. They need to make a trade for somebody that's proven, somebody that can come in and help right away. Jared Kelnick's been outstanding. They acquired him this past offseason. But you got to give credit to Alex Anthopoulos, the Braves general manager. I'm actually writing about him this week in the 1010XL newsletter. that's coming out tomorrow morning at 10:10 a.m. And what I'm going to write about, Hack, is, look, I mean, this guy absolutely nails it every single time, it seems like, whether it be free agents, trades. He does not lose very often. And the biggest examples are 3 all-stars that the Braves have this year. Marcell Ozuna is a guy that Braves fans will tell you they probably would have given up on years ago. He's having one of, if not the best year of his career right now. Reynaldo Lopez was a guy who started out as a starting pitcher, was moved to the bullpen with the Chicago White Sox. The Braves took a chance on him in free agency, and he's got the best ERA in baseball with a 1.71. And he hasn't even started games until this year in terms of games that he started. You have to go back to 2021, I believe, the last time he even started a game in the major leagues, and the Braves have turned him into an all-star. And then you look at Chris Sale. We didn't know what to expect. Chris Sale coming in, we knew what he was with the White Sox and the Boston Red Sox. He was phenomenal, but he couldn't stay healthy. The Braves took a gamble on him, traded Vaughn Grissom to Boston, got Chris Sale back, and he's been absolutely outstanding. So tip of the cap to the Brave general manager. He does not miss.
Andrew Gibson is the host of River City Hardball. He's with us here on 1010XL and Hacker After Dark. Gibby, in the National League as a whole, Atlanta's only one of 4 teams that have hit the 50-win mark. They're joined by Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is actually 7.5 clear of Atlanta there in the NL East. You also throw in the Dodgers and Milwaukee. Are those the 4 teams? The 4 teams in the National League with 50-plus wins? Is it going to be one of those 4, or could somebody come up and catch those teams as we get down the stretch here?
Yeah, I think those are the 4 teams. The Phillies, there's rumors that they're going to make a big swing at the trade deadline. I'm not sure who that would be for, but they've got almost 60 wins as we sit right now. I look at the Mets. The Mets are playing better. Their bullpen really needs help, as I've come to know with working the drill a little bit here with Dan Hicken. He's lamenting the bullpen for the Mets has got to get better. The Nats are a team that is very young. I don't expect them to be a contender in the East this year. They might slip in there for a wild card, but it might be a long shot. But they're a team on the come here. I think Milwaukee's a really good team, and think about what they don't even have yet. Their all-star closer, Devin Williams, has not even played this year, and the Brewers have won 53 games. They lost Corbin Burns in a trade to the Orioles, and they've somehow recovered from that. And the Dodgers are going to be the Dodgers. It'll be interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. If they, goodness knows they need more help with their payroll. But Ohtani's just been an absolute unicorn. He just does things every night that you don't see anywhere else. They're trying to get Clayton Kershaw back to health. He's, late in his career, but I think he can still give him some help. You'll probably see Clayton Kershaw after the All-Star break or sometime in August. But, yeah, those are the 4 teams. I would, keep an eye on teams like maybe the Padres, but it seems like they always fizzle out after the trade deadline. And maybe the Mets. It's a tough National League East. They're going to swing it out and see who ultimately is standing at the end of this.
Gibby, one more National League thought before we branch out to the American League. The All-Star rosters have been announced, and Paul Skeens, the rookie who started in the minors this year, the number 1 overall pick in Pittsburgh, is going to be in the All-Star game for the National League. You're an encyclopedia when it comes to baseball, man. How big a deal is that Skeens made the All-Star team in year number 1?
It's unprecedented. It's never happened. A number 1 pick overall has never made the All-Star team the very next year. And why is that? Well, guys usually spend some time in the minor leagues, and they don't get to the big leagues as quickly as Paul Skeens did. Same scenario with Wyatt Langford. The former Gator started out with the big leagues and is only 22 years old, and Wyatt Langford had one injury earlier this year that kept him on the shelf. Otherwise, he would be an all-star. He's certainly playing like it. But going back to Skeens, he's made 10 starts, and he's going to be in the all-star game, and he might even start the game, which is even crazier. But, it's something that's never been done before. Skeens is a generational pitcher. Just look at what he is, and he's performed at an extremely high level to be as young as he is. And it's amazing to see. I hope he starts. Here's the conflict that I have, Hack. I love watching Skeens pitch, but my guy, Reynaldo Lopez for the Braves, has the best ERA in baseball. A 1.71, are you going to pick, if you're the National League manager, are you going to pick the guy who has the best ERA or the guy that is electrifying the sport? You know what? It's a tough decision, but I'm going to say Paul Skeens. I mean, the All-Star game is supposed to be put your best guys out there for the fans to see. And if you want eyeballs on the game, nobody better to put out there than Paul Skeens. You want to see him face Gunnar Henderson and Aaron Judge and the best guys in the sport. And if he's starting, I think people are going to tune in.
Now, look, Paul Skeens has been incredible, but like you said, it's been a very short amount of time. Is this a matter of batters are facing him for the first couple of times and haven't figured him out? I mean, is he going to possibly be able to keep this up? I mean, once batters have a scouting report on him, will it be a little tougher for him? How do you assess that?
Well, I think with Paul Skeens, yes, there is the element of we haven't seen him yet. And look, there's a lot of guys that throw 100 these days, but Skeens has got just unbelievable stuff. And it's not just the fastball. He throws this pitch called a splinker, and it's kind of a mix between a slider and a splitter, I believe, is what they call it. They call things different these days. There's a splinker. There's different, kind of terms for these pitches. But Skeens is a guy that I just think he's going to – think about this. He's going to get even better. As good as he is now, he's only going to get better after seeing hitters and having to adjust. The biggest thing you have to do in the major leagues is adjust, because you can't stay the same way, because teams have scouting reports, and the scouting reports these days are more detailed than ever before. There's so much analytic stuff that goes into it. Teams are going to try to figure him out, and I think his biggest thing is, A, adjustments, and B, you got to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to get even better and better.
Couple of more for Andrew Gibson. Gibby, in the time we have left, let's go to the American League. The Rays are battling, right? I mean, they did get back to 500 for a split second there, and then they got swept out in Texas. We'll see what happens as they kick off a series with the Yankees beginning tonight. But they're 2 games under 500. They don't really have a shot at the division with the way the Yankees and the Orioles are playing. But could they stay in the wild card hunt here as we move along into the summer?
I think they can, Hack. And you look at that American League East, you want to talk about a slugfest. Baltimore, 57 wins going into tonight. The Yankees have over 50 wins. The Red Sox are knocking on the door. And I got to tell you, I did not see this from the Red Sox this year, but they have a team that just is kind of like one of those young teams that doesn't know any better. They're just playing every day and, seeing what happens. Rafael Devers is having an unbelievable season. Jarren Duran at their leadoff spot. Center field has been just exceptional. Their pitching has been really good. That's the question mark I had for the Red Sox coming in. Who's going to pitch? Who's going to be their main guys? But Tanner Houck and some of these guys at the top of the rotation for the Red Sox have been unbelievable. Baltimore's got really good young talent. This Gunnar Henderson kid is one of the best players in baseball right now. They've got the top prospect in baseball who's in AAA. Jackson Holliday got called up, but he did not perform well in his first cup of coffee in the major league, so he's back down at AAA Norfolk. And they've still got Corbin Burns and a bunch of other really good players on their team. And then the Yankees. The Yankees have scuffled a late. They've, dropped 3 of their last 10 ball games. So they've gone actually 3-7 in their last 10 when you look at what the Yankees have done. But Aaron Judge is just a, incredible player. And as long as they have him, they're going to continue to play well. And, pitching is going to be a question mark for the Yankees. And Juan Soto, how can you not talk about what he's been able to do? We had Daniel Murphy on the drill yesterday, and Hicken asked him if you could start a team from scratch, who would you start with? And Daniel Murphy said Juan Soto. And a lot of people would say a few different other guys, but you have to think about this. Juan Soto is only 25. You might think he's a little bit older, but he came into the big leagues at 19, so he's been around a while. But, they're talking about Soto might get more money than Ohtani, because Ohtani got $700 million. Well, Ohtani's 30. He just turned 30 this week, and Juan Soto's 25. And so the Yankees have that duo of Judge and Soto. And if you're a Yankees fan, you got to hold on tight to hope that Soto's going to stay there, because if he hits free agency, he's going to get, just a buku dollars from whoever wants to get him. But, to your question, it's going to be awesome to see how the American League East shapes up.
Gibby, as we wrap up, the AL East has 3 teams with 49 or more wins. The only other division that can say that is the American League Central with Kansas City, Minnesota, and Cleveland. I mean, that's a surprise, right? And almost all 3 of those teams are surprises.
Yeah, they are. Cleveland is probably the biggest one. Cleveland's got some good players. Jose Ramirez has been an underrated player for a long time. This guy, Stephen Kwan, just made the All-Star team. He's batting like over 360 this year. He's kind of an old throwback slap hitter that's going to hit for average, pop a few home runs here and there. But their bullpen's been outstanding. I mean, think Cleveland lost Shane Bieber this year to an elbow injury. I think he had Tommy John earlier this year, and he's one of the best pitchers in the game, and all they've done is win 56 games without him. He got lost him in the early part of the season, so they've ultimately won 56 games, having lost one of their best pitchers in the game, certainly their ace on their team. Minnesota's a bit of a surprise to me because they've got some solid players, but there's really not too many guys that really stand out with Minnesota when you look at them. Kansas City's got some good players. Bobby Witt Jr. is one of the best young players in baseball. You might think about him as a guy you start from scratch. You might start a team with Bobby Witt Jr. Salvador Perez has become one of the better catchers in the sport. They've got some really good guys. Cole Reagans is a pitcher that's come on and put himself into the Cy Young contention conversation. So, yeah, those teams are pretty surprising. I would say probably the most is Cleveland just because of what they've lost, and some of the guys they have may not be household names, but they're getting it done.
Andrew Gibson is the host of River City Hardball. Gibby, give us a quick minute here. Biggest surprise in the majors to this point, biggest disappointment in the majors to this point?
Well, I think the biggest surprise for me right now, when you think about what's been happening this year, just think about what's happened in the American League Central. And we just talked about the Cleveland Guardians. I think they're probably, to me, the biggest surprise. You can name a few other ones, but the biggest surprise for me is Cleveland because I just didn't see coming into this year. Look, they're a team that is not a small market, but Cleveland is a team that would probably struggle to hang on to a superstar. I think Jose Ramirez is a superstar, and he doesn't have quite the big money yet, but they're a team that's like kind of in the middle. They have probably a pretty good payroll, but you're not a team that you would expect to spend an exorbitant amount on a superstar, yet they're approaching 60 wins. So I would say the biggest surprise to me is Cleveland. The biggest disappointment is the Rangers. The Rangers just won the World Series, and they're below 500 right now, 43 and 48 as we sit right here going into tonight's games. A team that lost Jacob deGrom, who only made a handful of starts anyway in their World Series win last year. But, for the most part, that team's been locked in. They've got Corey Seager. They've got Marcus Semien. They just added Wyatt Langford. And, they haven't had too much regression, and yet they're under 500. So I would say the biggest disappointment so far is the World Series champs, the Rangers.
All right, Gibby, leave us with this. Not only Major League Baseball, but you have a little college baseball news regarding a tournament that's coming here to Jacksonville.
Yeah, so last year, this group out of Texas put together a couple of tournaments around the country, and they came to Jacksonville and put together the Jacksonville College Baseball Classic, which was held last year at the Jumbo Shrimp Stadium, and Virginia came in here and won the first tournament. And this year, they're going to have in 2025, they announced the teams this morning. I was able to speak with those guys, and you can find the video on Facebook, X, and YouTube, also Instagram, the interview with those guys from Peak Events is the group that puts it on. And they're coming back to Jacksonville this year, and they're going to bring Alabama, Ohio State, NC State, and Coastal Carolina here in February. It'll be February 21st to the 23rd. And so that's some pretty marquee teams. Ohio State, Alabama, NC State, and Coastal Carolina coming to Jacksonville for their 2025 tournament at the Jumbo Shrimp Stadium. So looking forward to that. That's pretty cool.
No, that's fantastic. And those are some pretty good teams. A couple of teams that made some runs in the NCAA tournament there. All right, Gibby, you're on with Dan Hicken in the morning. And by my information that you gave me, you got a Jaguar interview scheduled in the morning, correct?
Yeah, Tyson Campbell's going to jump on with us. It was cool to have Jimmy Smith on the phone with us today, but Jaguar cornerback Tyson Campbell might be looking at a contract here pretty soon. We'll have to find out exactly when that's going to drop, but you would expect Tyson Campbell might get a deal here in the near future, and we'll see if Tyson Campbell wants to talk about that a little bit. But, Tyson's one of the young corners in the league that's becoming a pretty good player, and we'll have Tyson tomorrow morning at 9 on The Drill.
That'll be good. Andrew Gibson, the host of River City Hardball. Gibby, always enjoy the conversation, man. Thank you as always.
Always a pleasure, man. Appreciate it.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
The following people are under the influence of no air conditioning.
Oh, man.
Is it ever hot? I can't get up. My legs are stuck to the chair.
Can guys go through menopause?
Why?
I think I'm having a hot flash.
Don't let no AC happen to you. Call Duck Duck Air Conditioning, available 24 hours a day, and they'll fix it right the first time. When your AC system needs a repair, it's time to call Duck Duck Air, 904-862-6769, or online at duckduckac.com. Duck Duck Air Conditioning, a division of Duck Duck Rooter.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
ZEROREC. Zero Res.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Care you can see.
Former Jaguars corner and first-year head football coach at Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows, K-12, Aaron Beasley here. Are you looking for an A-rated K-12 school prioritizing academics, arts, and athletics? Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows offers a rigorous curriculum to develop strong minds with an additional focus on growing good hearts. DCSB has been an A school for 8 years, and our tuition is free. Now enrolling. Apply at baymeadowscharter.org.
If you're tired of your fence looking like a bad hair day, well, it's time for a fence makeover with Superior Fence and Rail. They'll make your yard the talk of the town with a new fence installed by their expert team.
Your fence is fantastic.
My fence is giving all of my neighbors some serious pick and envy. Thanks, Superior Fence and Rail.
So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your fence installation project today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
How much space junk is orbiting the Earth? The answer coming up.
With hurricane season now here, the only weather you need to be concerned about is whether your homeowner's insurance policy will cover you in the event of storm damage. Ask about Southern Oak Insurance today.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
According to NASA, there's over 30,000 pieces of space junk larger than 10 centimeters orbiting the Earth.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Hello, sports fans. Hicken here. Let's talk skin. Iron Beach's Dermatology are reminding you to wear your sunscreen.
If you're an active parent hanging at the fields, in your boat to fish, or like to chill at the sandbar, wear sunscreen. But if you're the one that decided for years it's not cool, guess what? Cancer isn't cool either. So when grabbing the clubs for your tea time, gassing up the boat, or grabbing the chairs for your kids' games, make sure you bring the screen. Any concerns now? Give Beaches Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
Imagine driving a late model Corvette, BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Honda, Chevy, Ford, and more, all at a fraction of the original sticker price. Visit Vaughn Motor Group's indoor showroom and browse a great selection of dream cars that are inspected with warranties. Before you make your next auto purchase, check out Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard or at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I have exciting news from Leonard Truck Outfitters, now with 2 great locations to get that truck hooked up. Beach Boulevard just past Southside and one on Blanding. I got my truck taken care of, and you should too. Leonard Truck Outfitters, your truck, your style.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
And thank you to my buddy Andrew Gibson, the host of River City Hardball, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as we have reached, well, we're past the midway point, but we've reached almost the All-Star break. Of course, the All-Star game next week. Trade deadline on the horizon as well as the Major League Baseball season is just moseying right along. Boy, we did a lot tonight here on Hacker After Dark. There is absolutely no question about that. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Tuesday evening, and we will do it all over again tomorrow night on a Wednesday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, I tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal